Oh, hello everyone. It's Crypto Granny here. Hope you're all well. The date is the 15th of June 2024 and the time in Europe is 19:14 p.m. And it's pretty much an early Saturday night. So let's talk about the fiat market and then we'll talk about cryptocurrencies and anything we hold specifically in our investment portfolios that I want to talk about, and anything else that's important, like the political stability of Europe, particularly with all these European elections as well, which are quite important. So let's talk about the equity market first, the US equity market particularly. It has held up quite well, given what's been happening in Europe with elections, plus the UK is going for an election. Seems like the whole world is up for election, the election process. We've all been even got that in America too, particularly in November. So there's a lot of political risk, and we're also now starting to talk about country risk, which we spoke about and we focused on as traders and dealers and investors 25 years ago. So country risk is becoming very important, aka political risk. Okay, so that's really important. So we have seen the US equity market. Overall, it looks very negative to me, but it's still holding up given what's happening everywhere else. So we've had strong performance, 1.6% since Friday. The tech stocks are still rallying. Apple came out, they're looking at artificial intelligence. The tech stocks are at all-time highs, and we're seeing that things are still holding up, like Apple and Microsoft, right? So it's quite interesting what's happening. We saw Apple had a big rally in the last 3 days, and pretty much now the game is to compete in artificial intelligence, okay? Also, we saw the Fed not raising interest rates, leaving the cash rate at 5.25% to 5.5%, but also we saw other European countries reducing interest rates, like Denmark, 25 basis points. The European Central Bank reduced interest rates as well. The Bank of Canada reduced interest rates too. So we're starting to see easing in interest rates, okay, which is very interesting. Also, we've seen traders that were very concerned about, obviously things that were coming out of the Bank of Japan, but they're also concerned about where interest rates are going forward. And certainly the focus was on the focus is on the electorate in France and Germany, okay, where they're both coming up for elections. France's election apparently finishes on the 16th of June, and it's pretty much expected that Le Pen, who's very right-wing, may get in France, which is quite interesting. If she gets in, it changes the political scenario forever, basically, because clearly Le Pen's government, I don't know a lot about the French parties and that, but my understanding is Le Pen is quite right-wing, more probably fascist, anti-immigration and all this sort of thing. Whereas the French democracy, if you want to call it that, is generally like a socialist type democracy. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Now, certainly G7 leaders are lamenting about Macron's risky bet, while French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire today warned that victory by a new left-wing government, they're calling it a left-wing government, so not right, but a left-wing government alliance in the upcoming election would lead to the country's exit from the European Union. I mean, that's huge. That's going to be like what we saw with England, Brexit exiting from the European Union. And we've seen what's happened to England ever since. Their imports and exports, their exports are very bad at the moment. They're not selling any product to the European Union. So, for example, you can't even get certain sausages here from England in Holland because of this Brexit. So if France gets out of the European Union, that's going to be absolutely substantial. I've got to tell you that. And country risk goes up a lot, which means their credit spreads blow out, their funding costs blow out completely. And anyone holding, French bonds would probably be very concerned at the moment because they could get a downgrade by the credit rating agencies, because now we've got this new left-wing, so-called left-wing party that's more extreme than the socialist type parties. I hope people understand that. That's my understanding of it anyway. And it's certainly something to keep an eye out for going forward. And I'm going to be very interested in the French elections. Okay, and I've never looked at that before. Now, Roaring Kitty apparently was behind this GameStop business. I don't know what's happening there. Luxury labels slash prices. We've also got a lot going on with China and trade wars, and we're seeing that. And it's going to be very interesting going forward what's happening here. Okay. Also, we've seen Tesla investors, Musk is going to pay back something in a tax deal. And what else are we interested in terms of Garfield, which he comes out with some pretty interesting stuff too, clearly. So we did see the Fed not raising interest rates. CPI in the US was lower than expected. Consumer price index, I don't believe it for a second. I've got to be honest with you. 3.2% annualized for CPI, which means that your cost of living for food and everything else has only gone up by 3%. I think it's absolute garbology. We did see that US producer prices also declined as well. And that's another reason why US interest rate bonds have actually rallied. In other words, the 10-year bond rate is below that critical 4.35%. And we're looking at a 10-year bond rate in the US being around 4.24%, which is very interesting. So we have seen that US bonds have gone down in yield, and that certainly propelled the Treasury market, okay, in terms of yields going down and propelling the equity market to go up in price, okay. Now, this is just a Bloomberg index for US Treasury bonds, returns for the indices, and the indices are actually going up, which means price is going up in bonds and yields are coming down, which is bullish for the equity market and cryptocurrency assets. Now, I'm actually surprised the crypto market hasn't rallied more, given the US Fed did not rate hike. And also, we've seen a lot of interest rate easings in Europe and the Bank of Canada, of course. So I'm surprised that the markets haven't rallied higher, but given the traders, notwithstanding, they were expecting the Fed to ease earlier than later, that's obviously what stopped a big rally or a big price increase in risk markets, okay? Very important indeed. So a lot of news coming out this week, and we will talk about the crypto market. But it's all very interesting what's happening at the moment. I've got to tell you that. And many people are projecting that the Fed will probably start cutting interest rates in September or October, okay? Jeremy Powell, the chair of the FOMC, signaled there might be 2 cuts that more closely align to the end of the year or the last quarter of the year. So certainly swap trades position themselves for 2 federal interest rate cuts in the US this year. And we probably will get them, I believe, at the end of the year, okay? Even though the job market in the US looks very strong, non-farm payrolls came out a lot higher than expected, more people are getting jobs, but we did see wages were not going up very fast at all. The growth in wages is actually less than the growth in inflation. So inflation annualized at 3.2%, wages only went up about 2%, which means you're already behind the A curve on inflation. But I really believe inflation is in, double digits or to 20%. So if we're getting wages that aren't barely going up, we're actually losing 20% per annum because of the price of living and the cost of inflation. And that's why I love it. Crypto, because it's a hedge against the price increases, in our lives, which we call consumer price inflation. And I believe the measures that are coming out from the central governments are too low. Inflation, our cost of food going up and everything else is not going up by 3% a year. It seems to be going up by 3% a day. So, there's a lot going on, people. I've got to tell you that. A lot going on. What it means is interest rates have been coming down, but money markets and funds are expecting easings along that curve. So we have to wait. Overall, I do believe the GDP in the US is very low. And I think, inflation is still extremely high. And I think people are really hurting at the moment. That's for sure. People they don't have any spare cash. And people are saving their pennies to go to the shops, which is unfortunate. And they're even converting bottles into money, like bottles of empty beer because you can get money from that. And I'm seeing more of that, particularly in Europe as well. Oh no, sorry, recording poor. And before I go to live coin watch, everyone, and live cryptocurrency prices, I want to just quickly mention the French election. And I spoke to Lizzie, my rocket scientist, and just give me a bit of background about the French story in terms of political process, not political process, but just the background with Marine Le Pen and, you know, her father apparently. Now, I did say before that it said on the literature, and this is why all the financial market stuff comes out, often it's not, some things are actually incorrect. It actually said that the Le Pen party, which is called RN, the far right national rally, it actually they're left wing, but they're not. They're actually right wing. Okay, which really changes everything, because think about this: you've got political risk in France at the moment under Macron, the current prime minister or president, what do they call him? And they've got social democracy at the moment, socialism with democracy, right? Where all your, you know, benefits are included and all this shit. Sorry, but if you go from social democracy to a far right national party, which Lizzie says is equivalent to the UK National Front, which are like Nazis, then you can see the political risk in France has suddenly gone from social democracy to a far right national party that want to get out of the European Union and want to do everything for France with, you know, with no more immigration or very selective immigration, and also that are potentially, possibly xenophobic, which is fear of foreigners in France, and also want to go back to a white France, if you want to call it that, you know, from the farmers in this, then you can understand why French equities and French bonds are going to sell off dramatically. I didn't know that Le Pen, Marine Le Pen, was actually right-wing, and it's like the National Front in the UK, you know, for skinheads and everything. Notwithstanding that certainly the right-wing fascist leaders like Le Pen are much better dressed. Now, apparently Marine Le Pen is the daughter of a fellow called John something Le Pen. And he...
Jean-Marie?
Sorry, what was that?
Jean-Marie?
Jean-Marie Le Pen, apparently.
Michael.
John Michael, apparently that means in English. And apparently the party was developed, my understanding, in 1972. He was the leader of that party up until, I think, 2018. And his daughter, Marine Le Pen, got the top vote for taking the party forward. But her father was very notorious and very well known in France during that time, 1972 to 2018, of being absolutely right-wing France. He essentially wanted a right-wing white class of France from the farmers. He was accused of being xenophobic and anti-immigration and all those things. So again, Le Pen, the daughter that took over in 2018, she wanted a softer stance, okay, to get more people to see them, almost like what, you know, Hitler did, you know, in the early 30s. He wanted a softer stance on his right-wing party and told all his people, don't be too violent. You know, we want to get more normal people voting for us, okay? So I asked ChatGPT to, you know, cut a long story short, I asked Perplexity, and you can see by this, what's the chance of this Le Pen, Marine Le Pen, the daughter, getting in, who's blonde and very much a white national, if you want to call it, French type Aryan. And apparently we're going to know probably by about the 16th of June, that's the last day of the French election, you know, how many votes and everything. Now, according to this, Perplexity says that she has a comfortable lead at the moment, Le Pen, of the National Front at 31% support ahead of any other candidate. So it looks like there's high likelihood that France could go from social democracy to a French National Front, and that is massive. And it's no wonder sovereign credit spreads for France are blowing out to smithereens. Bonds are underperforming because the risk has changed incredibly so, the country risk and the political risk from a social democracy to a right-wing national front, which can, when you say that, you think of Hitler and the Nazi Party and everything, right? And the rest is history, right? So, crikey, 31% perplexity is saying 31%, which looks like it's saying here that the Le Pen National Rally Party is projected to secure a 35% share in the first round of the legislative elections. Now, I don't know anything about the French elections, right? So you got to take it as this, but because I'm an Australian, but this is scary because what they want to do is get out of the European Union, which in my mind is saying get out of the euro, like the Brits had Brexit and they've still got the British pound. If they want to get out of the European Union, they don't want to use euro. They want to go back to the French franc. They don't want the European Central Bank telling them what to do in terms of funding or anything, or setting the interest rates. And what this means is they'll go back to the French franc and they'll control the balance sheet of their money for the government and everything in French franc, and they'll get out of the European Union, which also beggars the belief that they literally will be France centric, if you want to call that. Everything's done in France for the good of the people of France. If you're a nationalist, and this is a very nationalistic party, they clearly want to control immigration, very much so. And I hasten to add that it's probably immigration that's coming from Africa, where a lot of people speak French, I'm told, by my Lizzie, who's a rocket scientist. Now, if that's the case, this is going to be huge, right? It says that Macron's only got 14.6%, and this woman has over 31%. And I hasten to tell you this, that in Nazi Germany in January 1933, Hitler got into power with less than 30% of the vote. Okay, so this is really, really important. If she gets in, and it's highly likely she probably will, the French bond market and the equity market are going to sell off. They will get out of the European Union and the euro, and they'll go back to the French franc. In times of right-wing governments, anything that's imported is taxed dramatically. They will be French-centric, and they could even increase their army or anything. So it's very scary stuff. And we really need to keep an eye on this, because this will affect certainly the French equity markets and the bond markets, and there could be a contagion into other markets, i.e., US bonds, US equities, Australian bonds, excuse me, and equities, because the whole world seems to be going right wing and more nationalistic, which is scary. And the result of that could be extremity, like we saw, i.e., Nazi Germany in history. So that's very, very scary. So get a glass of water, guys. I don't know how long this has gone for, but it seems to be going for a while. Get a glass of water, a coffee, or a beer. I'm having a beer. And then we're going to talk about the crypto market and some of the main news stories that have come out, and look at just what's happening today. So go and grab a glass of water or whatever. I'll take a pause and we'll talk about that very soon. Thank you. Now, I just spoke to Lizzie again, just on my break here, and also want to mention not just France is going from social democracy potentially to an extreme national right-wing party, nationalistic party called, the National Front, like in the UK. This is called Le Pen's National Rally. But also I'll add to that, in Holland, for example, the Netherlands, apparently a fellow got voted in called Geert Wilders, like Kurt Wilderness. And he's a very much, a National Front type politician as well, an extreme right wing, I'm told. Now, Holland, or the Netherlands, is a social democratic country. And if Holland goes right wing, potentially you could be seeing Holland, if they went right wing, getting out of the euro, like France, going back to the Dutch guilder, and again, you're going to have bonds underperforming dramatically, Dutch bonds as well as Dutch equity market. And we've got to think about that as well, right? But also on top of that, we've got Germany going from a social democrat society, potentially in the next electorate, which is coming up soon as well, potentially going to a national front type stance. And when we look at all these different countries, whether we look at Germany, France, or the Netherlands, going right wing, right, and going like a national front type party is extreme in its own self, because most of these parties have characteristics of being xenophobic, anti-mass immigration. They want to go back to white France or white this or white that. You understand what I'm saying here? And, this is smelling of particularly Germany in 1933, with Mr. Hitler, where it went extreme right wing, and we saw what happened there. So this is really scary stuff, people, and it will affect all markets, including cryptocurrencies, even though it shouldn't affect cryptocurrencies, because clearly it will affect fiat markets, the bond markets in these countries, and the equity markets and everything else. And it could even affect property, because you've got a national front now that implies that they can take over people's, businesses or anything. We saw that with Hitler, right? So yeah, you get my gist here, right? You get my gist. So let's go to Litecoin markets now and talk about the crypto market specifically. So bear with me, I want to make sure you can see this share. And yeah, very interesting times, people. I tell you, we're seeing something in our lives that is going to change our lives forever, and it's a bit scary too. Anyway, Bitcoin dominance at the moment is 53.3525%, going down slightly. XRP dominance going up 1.1056. I'm keeping a very, very close eye on XRP. Now the SEC has come out and said you only have to pay 100 million. Over 100 million in fines to the SEC from Ripple. Ripple may settle on that. And, again, XRP could rally potentially from here, because there's great news stories about XRP. So, in my mind, if XRP gets through 55 cents, it's currently 0.4488, we might buy some, because we don't have much XRP in our portfolio. Not even $5,000 out of 100,000, okay? We have barely any exposure, but we need to keep closely watching this, because XRP has got a great story if you heard my other videos the other day. And also, I apologize, on our app, I haven't put stuff on there. We had a bit of an issue with it. We fixed it. And so I've got to update the app for all the videos I sent out the other day. But this podcast will go on our app today. So all is good. So if you've got any problems with the app, please send me a message. Susie.crew@Mirzak, mirzak.io, or susan.crew, or just send me a WhatsApp and we can fix it straight away. Anyway, so what we've got now is Ethereum dominance at 17.14, going up slightly. Now the SEC did approve an ETF for Ethereum, my understanding, and I think that's going to start in July, okay? But I'm not that worried about it. I still want to play on Bitcoin and other coins, but have Pepe as a surrogate for Ethereum, okay? Because Pepe is on Ethereum and it will outperform. Tron is at 0.4237 dominance, and it's gone up. Link dominance is 0.35, expecting great things out of Link this year. Solana 2.72, BCH going up 0.34. Now, market cap for crypto at the moment, 2.452 trillion. Volume is very healthy, nearly 72 bill, and liquidity is excellent at 6.83 bill, right? 6.238 bill. Currently, we've got Bitcoin at 66,386. It's a buy right here, right now. Ethereum's at 35.62. Banana's cheap at 607. We saw Banana's getting up to $700. It could easily get there again, people. Solana 145 looks so bullish, it's a joke. Solana could be at 250. We're keeping an eye on XRP. If it breaks 55 cents, we're going to become a buyer of XRP, people, a buyer, because we don't have much XRP. And if they settle with the SEC, it's going to be ultra bullish. Dodge 0.13, ADA I don't like 0.41, SHIB 0.000021, AVAX 30.19, Tron 0.1189. Can't seem to break 12.5 cents. It's disappointing. Oak B 46.36, dot 623, extremely cheap, dot, I tell you. It's a joke, and so is Leaf at 14.93. What a joke. So is BCH at 431.84. So is Matic at 0.61. This is a dream, people. These coins are so cheap. They're more profitable now than they were 5 years ago. Pepe 0.00012. We're looking to pick up more Pepe. Pepe, I believe, can get to 0.01. Fetch is going to become ASI in July. This is cheap here. This thing will rally. There's so much opportunity in this market. It is a joke. Okay, an absolute joke. Now let's go back to our video. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but just the way it is. And we'll take it from there. Bear with me for a minute. Now, also, Bernstein Analyst came out with a price for Bitcoin, 200,000 per unit by the end of 2025. Now, I actually think Bitcoin, because there's a lack of Bitcoin, will get there by 2024. Now, also, let's go back on this. Excuse me. Also, we see Ripple is apparently seeks 10 million independently, citing terror firm fine in the SEC case. My understanding is now the SEC have come down to just over 100 million, okay? Apparently there's some rumor about a fund that fuels Jasmine. They seeked a lower penalty, and my understanding is that actually happened, okay? So what else we got here? What else we got? Okay, so just going through that. So I'm still learning how to do this properly. But ultimately, yeah, they're getting a lower fine, okay, and it's about 100 million or so. Now, also Chainlink, one of my favorite coins ever, and I do believe is going to outperform Solana this year with 798% return or something. They're putting on more and more clients. This one is called Ultimate Digits. Has started to connect with Chainlink Build program to quicken the process of expanding the overall ecosystem. And they're using Chainlink because it's incredibly Web3 efficient. It makes things easy. Everything connects properly. Chainlink have great security and pricing Oracle security, which is absolutely essential. And the Chainlink is so profitable, they're putting on more than 2 to 3 new clients every day that are paying to use their network. Okay, it's as simple as that. Their technology. Okay, every day I see more great things about Chainlink. They are cheap, people, at $15. Chainlink should be at $250. Okay, Real Token Data integrates Chainlink CCIP for cross token chain token transfers. Amazing. They have interoperability. Okay. They're an amazing story, I've got to tell you that. And this cross-chain interoperable protocol is powered by a risk management network and an independent network for monitoring suspicious cross-chain activity. Chainlink is incredible, guys and girls, and I think it's going to absolutely kill it this year. In other words, go up a lot. Now, Engine, we also keep an eye on. Engine have announced partnership with George Murphy and the Rising Suns. I don't know who this person is, but it's to do with NFTs, and apparently this guy's quite well known. And that's a great story for Engine. The Graph network now fully decentralized with 6,000 plus sub graphs live. And I also keep an eye on this one because some of my clients have investment portfolio number 5, which is 4 years ago. And, we did buy the graph there. So we keep an eye on this one. Almost 6,000 subgrades are available now, including A, Balance of Decentralization, and Mazari. Also, Polkadot was out there in the news recently with Web3 Foundation launched a $65 million prize pool for new developers. Tron and HTX Hubi are now backing each other in partnership for sports assets, which I think is very interesting. Also, Binance said they're going to launch ASI trading ahead of that Ocean and the AGX merger. So there's lots going on, people, but thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for learning and watching. And I'm ultra bullish the crypto market. Okay, I hope you're all having a great time on the weekend. Look after your family, beautiful animals, your beautiful kids, your beautiful everything. Try and make the world a better place. And I'll talk to you very soon, and have a great weekend, because I'm certainly having a great weekend with a beer with the best person in the world, and that's my partner. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Thank you.